I know it's late. Are we still awake? Raise your hands if you're still awake. Very good, very good. I know it's just me stopping you just me between you and your next beer, so we'll be brief and we'll wrap it up just in a few minutes. I'm here to just share some of my journey, something that I learned over my journey. During the years, I've worked with a few climate activists that have been telling me this, which really resonates. There are no passengers on spaceship Earth, we're all crew. This means that if we look at the planet as a spaceship, we can't just sit back and just chill and enjoy the ride because we realize what we just ended up with. But we all need to be active members of crew. We all need to do our own part. My journey starts 15 years ago from the fashion industry, from a little village in Italy. Family comes from the fashion world, always being in love with tech, so I combined fashion, knowledge, and tech. So I was very good at selling stuff online. So I'm specialized on e-commerce. Had the pleasure to move to New York, was really lucky, worked for some very big organizations. One is called Bluefly, so a marketplace for luxury products. Ended up working with Tommy Hilfiger from his personal offices as his own strategist. And then my journey brought me with a company in Asia. This very big company decided to hire me and my team and say, hey, Alex, we need someone that could help us sell our products into the United States. Challenge accepted. We go into Asia, myself and the team. Spent 6 months over there. This company was selling fast fashion products, so you can already imagine. After 6 months down the road, I decided to go ask the company that, hey, would you walk me through one of your factories? Would you show me how we make these products? Because I've been selling these products for some time. I still don't know how we make them. And these were $2 to $3 jeans and leggings. I go in one of these, I take a little plane, go in the middle of Asia, let me say Asia, and walk in one of these factories. Imagine a huge industrial area. Imagine factories with thousands of people. Walk in it, and what I see, horrible. We know the story. From a social point of view, people that were working for a couple of dollars a day for 11 months out of the 12 months, and then working between 14 to 16 hours per day. Horrible. Social conditions, terrible. From an environmental point of view, though, everything that was happening there, these guys had barrels of acids and colors all in every angle, every corner of their buildings. And if you're in the fashion industry, you always like to do a little espionage. So the reality is, there's only a few manufacturers that make the products for multiple brands. So if you're buying from multiple brands, you're really buying from just a few manufacturers. So you always try to learn, what is your competitor doing? So you're always trying to know what is the next color in season, and what are the styles your competitor is manufacturing for next year. So I was walking the factory with a lady, and I said, come on, you can tell me what's the next color in season. And this lady says, well, if you want to know the next color in season, go and look at the color of the river. Because every other manufacturer will just be dumping their liquids in the river. That was my turning point. That was the time I realized, and in that moment I was wearing a $5 t-shirt that I bought from a fast fashion place, so that my t-shirt was made from people from on the other side of the world, poorly paid, poorly conditions, with an environmental disaster. That was my turning point, and I said, okay, can't be part of this anymore. So I left that company and started to study. I said, okay, how do we get here, and how do we actually try to change things? If you think about it, from an economical point of view, we've built a world where a tree is worth more dead than alive. And let's think about an elephant tusk, for example. We are not seeing the real price of things, and if we continue doing this, we can just leave. We'll leave a worse place for the future generation. This is profit at all costs. So if we think about our culture doesn't really incentivize living sustainably, does it? We live on this world as our resources are infinite, or they're not. We all know about Overshoot Day. It's always sooner and sooner on our calendar. And our economy is built on profit at all costs. I've listed a light bulb there because in California, there's a fire station that has a light bulb switched on for 120 years. Can your light bulb stay on for 120 years? I don't think so. That's more than 1 million hours. So if we go back and look at who invented the light bulb, we can say that was Thomas Edison in the 80s, 70. And the first light bulbs lasted at least 5,000 hours. What then happened is that the companies that were selling them weren't selling enough. So what we did, we reduced the lifespan in order to sell more light bulbs. That's how we operate. So we're digging stuff up, we're burning it, we're shoving it underground, and this is creating all kind of inequalities in our society. Apparently, we still don't understand the necessity of living in equilibrium in balance with our planet. I think that's just true. We're very good at tracking success. We consider success economical success, and we're very good at having KPIs that track our economy. We have GDP growth, we have EBITDA, but aren't we really missing the point here? We aren't keeping track of KPIs that factor in climate change-related issues, impacts on infrastructure, biodiversity loss, and human loss. In fact, our growth of our economy should be the equivalent of the growth of our planet's well-being. So our economic models are built so that your gains equals my losses. And there's not enough time, truly, to just think about world domination anymore. We're just out of time. We just need to back every solution out there. And we need to start shifting between competition to collaboration. And even if we're all concerned about this, because if we're here, we are all concerned about this, we aren't doing enough. We're at a pivotal moment right now, is giving us a very little window to act. In fact, we are just in the middle of the Agenda 2030, the United Nations agenda, that was launched in 2015, and we are at half-time right now. This year it marks half-time, and we're not even close of half of the results. Do we all know this? Do we all know Ed Hawkins, Professor Ed Hawkins' climate stripes? This is pretty easy. We saw this at Glasgow at COP, the growth in temperature over the course of the years. Raise your hand if you've seen this. Nice. These are the biostripes. This is the loss of biodiversity that we had from 1970 till today. This equals to, we lost 69% of world biodiversity in the last 50 years. And we're thinking of ourselves as change makers, but we're not going to succeed if we don't think of as one entity at one nation. And despite our best efforts, we haven't really figured out what our sustainable economy is or a sustainable business model. We're just not there yet. So I asked myself, what is the problem? Is it our government? Is it the municipality with my mayor? Is it the corporates? Can it be just us? Governments are made by people. My municipality is made by people. Corporates are made by people. It's just really us. And we need to realize that every action that we take, every product, every service that we buy has an impact. And we do this hundreds of times a day. And we're now 8 billion people. So why aren't we really changing ourselves? And this is where I try to dig a little deeper. Actually, 77% of the people really want to take action, but they don't know where to start. People feel the need, so there's something internally that is telling us, take action, do something. People find the topic of sustainability sometimes complicated, we know. We have a little Greta talking about gigatons of greenhouse gases. Take some time to realize and understand it. And we fail to see the impact of our daily actions. There's nothing telling me here what is the difference between taking an Uber or taking public transportation or taking the underground. There's nothing really telling me. I know that it's better. There's nothing telling me how much better it is. And let's be truthful, changing our behavior is very, very difficult. It takes a cognitive effort, it takes time, it takes willingness to change. Sometimes it's even more expensive. Let me give you a few examples. The moment that we're kids and we go to school and we choose our desk, we always try to go back to the same desk. When we go to the gym and you're in your clocker, though we always try to go back to the same clocker every time, we're habitual creatures. It's just easier to do the same thing. And I think this is the biggest problem that we have, the intention-behavior gap. Intention-behavior gap is the phenomenon of knowing between a discrepancy between what consumers say about their growing concerns and what they actually do. This is the big gap. I want to do it, but I don't do it. I go to groceries, I know that a steak has a bigger impact than on beans, for example. Sometimes I choose a steak. I know that avocado comes all the way from Peru and has a bigger carbon footprint than my grandma, for example. And I still buy the avocado. And then we have the bystander effect, the psychological phenomenon where people are less likely to assist if they know there is other around, the diffusion of responsibility. This means I always think there's someone else taking care of this. I can just step back. I'm just passenger. There's someone else taking care of this. There's my government taking care of it. There's scientists. And then the fear of looking stupid and appropriate. I live in a village of 1,000 people in the middle of Italy, and to go and do groceries, I need to get my big plastic bag, reusable bag, and walk in front of the bar, the little bar in the village, where all my friends are out there drinking coffee and drinking beer. I sometimes look extremely stupid walking with my reusable bags in front of my bros, doing grocery. So how do we change ourselves? What is the solution out there? We all know this guy. Cliché, Einstein. But this guy said something extremely interesting. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. Let's say that again. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. So if you want to solve problems like poverty, global health, climate change, and loss of biodiversity, we must elevate ourselves to a higher level of consciousness. This is where it gets a little philosophical, so don't roll your eyes. All of things are created and expand from the mind. Everything we do in life begins with a thought or a feeling, and the thought or feeling always precedes action. So this means we need to fall in love with these topics, and we need to make them our topics every day, every hour. We cannot change the law of nature. Someone maybe can disagree here, but I don't. So if you want to change the world, we must focus the attention inwards, on ourselves. Time spent on inner works, investment, will deliver benefits in the outer world. It will lead us to act with greater clarity, generosity, love, empathy, and peace. Going back to my journey, I left that company and I dedicated my life to this, to try to understand something out of this, to try to fix that behavior gap. Took my pals and said, okay, let's actually do something that could actually help people live sustainably and guide them towards what living sustainably really means. Because it's time to transform knowledge and pledges into real action. It's the information era. Information is out there. We need to take that information, make it ours, and take action. If you ask me what living sustainably really means, of course it means living in balance with all of the ecosystems. But I also believe we can take that a level down and frame it like this. We need to measure our carbon footprint. Easy, something measurable. Raise your hand if you know your carbon footprint. Okay, so we need to start from that. We need to start to understand what our carbon footprint is like and the 4 areas: food, energy, transport, and purchases. And if you measure something, you can improve it. We need to grow our education, create culture and literacy. We need to be aware. And then we actually need to take action to then reduce that carbon footprint. All this, it's free, and we've put it in an app because we're big nerds, which is called AWorld. We built this app which inspires and wants to empower people to take action on climate change. If you have a minute, if you would scan that QR code, that I'll be really grateful. This app is jam-packed with, of course, your carbon footprint, knowledge that you can read on a daily basis, and actions that you can take on a daily basis too. If you're going to work, if you're at home, stuff you can do everywhere. The app is actually being picked up by the UN. The UN has a campaign called Act Now, the campaign for individual action on climate change and sustainability. And this is being the only platform that the UN supports to change people's behavior from all over the world, making this AWorld in support of Act Now. It's actually little bragging here, this app is being promoted by Leonardo DiCaprio, Edward Norton, and many other people, making this kind of a fun activity. It uses gamification to incentivize behavioral change. And to prove this, we've launched, actually a couple of months ago, during London Climate Action Week, a huge challenge which actually recorded 280,000 actions for the environment, with huge CO2, waters, and energy savings. To wrap it up, we have no time left. We must protect our planet together every day, everywhere. We must mobilize our people, if they are our employees, if they are our citizens, if they are our students, because the time to act is now. Remember what I told you earlier about passengers or crew? Do you feel passenger or do you feel crew? I'll leave that answer to you. Thank you.